my first Sunday with you, I shared a bit about my own spiritual journey and how I got from where I was to where I am and how I've come to embrace the living tradition that is Unitarian Universalism. Today I want to share a little bit about my vision of ministry, my philosophy. Some of these are going to seem like random thoughts, and that's only because they're random thoughts. Typically with my messages, I try to be very on point and have a specific goal and the direction we're going. You're going to see that that typically is true of me. Today is a little bit less so, except for this one overarching theme. We are in this together. When you hire a minister, you're not hiring someone to come and do everything that this congregation needs done. This is a shared ministry, and today's message is about what that shared ministry means, but also a little bit about who I am, what my expectations are, what my requests are of you as a congregation, and how we can work together. If you read the monthly newsletter, and I hope that you do because it's filled with important information and ideas, as well as typically some type of something that I will write that may or may not be interesting to you. But this month I wrote about the shared ministry that we have, and I wrote about specifically 5 different aspects or 5 different ways that we have a shared ministry here. We have a shared vision, which ultimately asks the question, what do you want to become as a congregation? Where are we going, and what does that mean for us? We have a shared journey. All of us, like last week, when I shared my journey, any of you could have the very same message, where you talk about what your faith was growing up, your spiritual path that you've taken, and how you've come to be part of this community. So we have a shared journey, which asks the question, what has made you who you are today? We have a shared work in the things that are valuable to us. The inevitable outcome, I will say many, many times, and you might get sick of me saying this, but the inevitable outcome of our liberal faith is social justice work. And that is what shows the community who we are. It is what gives life to our faith as a community. So it asks the question, what social justice issues matter to you? We have a shared community, which is why we gather on Sunday mornings and at different times throughout the week and month for meetings and activities and fun and important work. And it asks the question of us, what talents or abilities can you share to help create a beloved community that we have? And then finally, we have a shared responsibility. If this community means something to you, if you are a member, if you're a friend, if you just like to hang out with us, there's something that you can offer to make us better, to help us do the work that we are called to do. A shared responsibility asks the question, how will you as an individual be responsible to help UUFCC succeed, reach out, and to grow? So just to give you an example of what I mean by that, and just one part of our disjointed service today, or my disjointed message, I should say. I don't want to blame anybody else for this. If you have a smartphone, I would like for you to take out your smartphone right now, especially if you have the Facebook app. I know we have a lot of Facebook users in here. I see you sharing things, and I've gotten a lot of friend requests on Facebook. Thank you very much for that, by the way. It does help me feel welcome. If you have the Facebook app, in the order of service, there's a whole panel that talks about things that you can do to help us get free publicity on Facebook. So I ask that you do that. One of the simplest things that you can do is you can open your Facebook app and check in. At the top of the app on the right-hand corner, there's a little red kind of pointy thing, and it says check in. So all you do is touch that. It brings up at the top of the list, Unitarian Universalist Fellowship of Charlotte County. And you can say something, like I'm going to say, enjoying our beloved community, oops, I can't spell right, community this morning. Exclamation point, because that adds more excitement, right? And then I hit post. And then what checking in does is it lets all of your friends know that you're here. It's free, it's simple, it's easy to do, and it spreads the word that something is going on here and that it matters to you. So that's one simple way that we can help to spread the word as a community. It's free. There's a lot of other ways we can use our Facebook page, and we'll do some more work with that down the road. And the point of that is that I'm not here to just do this work by myself. This is what it means to be part of a shared ministry in a beloved community. But as your minister, there are some specific roles that I do play. There are some specific expectations of me that I have of myself and that you have of me. And so again, I'd like to suggest 5 specific things. If you're a fan of alliteration, these all start with P. So maybe you can make a note. So 5 aspects of my role here. First of all, I am your partner. I come alongside of you, I help, I encourage, I can give advice, give ideas, share my perspective on issues. I can help make things happen or help by standing aside and letting other people make things happen. But I am a partner in ministry with you. And this is part of a role that I have in attending committee meetings or board meetings. I don't attend those meetings because I have to have my way and tell you my opinion all the time. It's simply a matter of being a partner in ministry with you. Secondly, my role as a pastor. I am here to counsel, to comfort, to reassure, to sit with you in times of difficulty, to chat with you as you or your loved ones are moving through health problems or a tragedy or life events, or if you just need someone to listen to and you don't want advice at all, you just want a shoulder to cry on or ears to speak to. That is my role in my pastoral ministry here. I also have a priestly ministry here. Now, I know last week I learned a lot of you are recovering Catholics, so that word priest might make you go, ah, you said priest. A priest is simply someone who shares in rites of passage with you. So, performing marriages, baptisms, child dedications, memorial services at the time of death, helping children move from one transition in life to another, leading worship, creating spaces where we can come together and experience spiritual growth in one type or another. That is simply what a priestly ministry is. Next is my prophetic ministry. And by prophetic, I don't mean foretelling the future. If any of you try to forecast football scores or something like that, the way that I do, I'm terrible, so I don't have a gift of foretelling the future. Otherwise, I'd have already won the lottery and be somewhere else. But a prophetic ministry means speaking the truth even when that truth is uncomfortable. Even when that truth makes you squirm. Even when that truth is unpopular. My prophetic ministry means there will be times, maybe at a board meeting, maybe in an individual conversation, and certainly here from the pulpit, where I might issue a challenge or make a statement or call you out for something that needs to be done or that you're not doing, or share an unpopular opinion in order to help move us forward, in order to help us create a more holistic, positive spiritual space, motivate us to action, casting a vision for how to go where we want to go. That's a prophetic aspect to my ministry. There's also a professorial aspect to my ministry, a teaching aspect. There will be some messages. For example, over the next few weeks, we're going to do some work on the foundations of Unitarian Universalism. And I know some of you have been UUs your whole life or for an awful lot of years, and you say, I've heard this a million times. Yeah, but you ain't heard it from me yet. So it'll be different. And so starting next week, we're going to take a look at what it means to be Unitarian, what our Unitarian roots are. The following week, we'll take a look at our Universalist roots and what that means and how that informs who we are. And then we're going to spend some time looking at the individual 7 principles that guide us as Unitarian Universalists. And then we're going to take a look at the 6 sources. So I have everything planned out through like April already next year. And so you're going to see a lot of that professorial side of me that creates a spiritual space while teaching us interesting ideas or giving you some information that maybe you haven't thought about in a long time or that might be brand new to you. So I am here with you to be your minister, your pastor, your prophet, your priest, your professor in many ways, to come alongside of you to do the co-work of ministry as Unitarian Universalist. And again, I just want to remind you, and you will hear me say this a lot, the necessary outcome of our liberal religion is fighting for social justice. We each live and have our favorite causes, things that we like to support, projects that are important to us, and that's okay. We don't all have to do the same thing for our work to be valued, to be important. If there are 100 people here today, we could all have dedication to one specific social justice cause or to one message that is really important to you. And we can support and encourage you and cheer you on as you do that work in that social justice cause, but we don't have to participate with you every time you're doing that in order to love and support what you're doing. For example, here in October, as most of us know, this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. That's a big deal to me. Typically in October, I would be pinked out almost every day. Pink fingernails, beard pink, pink clothes, to get the message of awareness out, because breast cancer has been devastating in my family. My sister is a 2-time survivor of breast cancer. She's a 1.5 years younger than I am. She's why I shaved my head. Because the first time she had her first treatment in 2004, she shaved her head, I shaved my head, my dad shaved his head. We all made him grow his hair back really quick because he looked like Charlie Manson and it was scaring children. But I keep my head shaved because it reminds me every day to think of my sister and her battle that she's been through. I lost an uncle to breast cancer almost 20 years ago. I lost an aunt to breast cancer. I have a 33-year-old cousin right now who is battling stage 4 breast cancer that is metastasized throughout her body. She has a 3-year-old kid, and she is losing that battle. So breast cancer awareness is a big deal to me. Breast cancer is the second leading cancer killer of women in America. And if we can get early detection, we can make that number go way, way down. That's why it's a big deal to me. The rest of you might go, I'm so tired of pink this and pink that. And that's all right, you can be tired of it. You have your thing that you're into, and you can push your thing. That's awesome. We don't all have to push the same social justice cause. There's a lot of us that can do a lot of work. I do hope that we can identify a couple of things that we all feel really strongly about that we can work on together. I think that's fantastic. But we don't all have to do the same thing. I do hope that you can look at ways. Here's some more alliteration coming. Those of you that are into alliteration are absolutely loving this so far. 3 T's that I will ask you to invest with us. Your time, your talents, and your treasures. Time, talents, and treasures. The most valuable commodity we all have is our time. Some don't really have the time to do this, or no, that would take me too much time to drive here to participate in that. We need your time to make things happen. We have to have a huge army of volunteers to do everything that we want to do as a congregation. We need your talent. Some of you have special abilities, unique education, unique contributions that you can make, whether that's in photography or as an accountant or playing the piano or whatever it might be. We need those talents. But also your treasures. And by treasures, we mean money. There's no beating around the bush. None of this happens for free. This electricity that keeps the air conditioner and the lights on, we have to pay for that somehow. I know that some of you might be shocked to hear this, but I get a salary for doing what I do. And y'all get to pay for that. So thanks for that. We need your time, we need your talents, and we need your treasures as we do this shared ministry together. I've got several personal notes that I want to throw in here that I'm asking you to keep in mind about me and who I am and how I do ministry. Several of you have mentioned, because you have the captain obvious power of observation, that I'm a bit more casual than maybe ministers you've had in the past. Someone said to me this morning, don't you have any robes? I have a white bathrobe. I have a blue bathrobe. And I have my academic regalia that I got with my doctoral degree that is big and red with black piping, and it weighs like 40 pounds, and I just sweat like crazy in that, so I'm not going to be preaching in that thing. But the other reason I'm casual, there's a couple different reasons. I'm a casual person. I don't like formality. I didn't grow up with formality, so being casual just makes me comfortable. We're in South Florida, for crying out loud. Right? We're a few minutes from the beach. It's 80-something degrees outside. It's a gorgeous sunny day. Yeah, I'm going to be wearing tropical shirts. Some Sundays, don't be shocked if I show up wearing shorts. I may have plans after this, and I don't want to change. But also, if we're going to attract more people, millennials, young families to a congregation, they are used to growing up in a casual culture. And part of the reasons that the mainline and the other popular religions that used to be so big are shrinking is because they're not reaching out, they're not connecting with new people, with young people. And if we want to grow and attract some of those folks to be a part of us, we've got to live in a way that they can connect with. And that's a whole lot more casual than it used to be. That doesn't mean I'm never going to wear a stole or that I'm never going to wear a robe. I actually own suits and ties, and I'll wear those when they're appropriate. But probably not typically on Sunday mornings. Also, I have a cell phone. I have two, actually. This is my personal cell phone, and then this is my ministry cell phone. If you have your order of service with you, on the back, you'll see my cell phone number. Please send me a text. Do it right now, in fact. Send me a text and say, "Hi, Dan, this is whoever. This is my cell phone number." So that I can have your number in my address book on my phone so that when you call me or text me, I know who it is. Because when a regular old phone number comes up you don't recognize, what happens? What do we all do? We ignore it. I don't want to ignore you. I really don't. So please send me a text so that I know who you are and your number is already in my phone. That will be very helpful. Also, I'm married. My incredibly amazing, hot and sexy wife, Tess. Wave to everybody, Tess. Look at her. Tess is her own person. One of the first questions I had when I sat down with the search committee from Sue, who I won't name, was, "You know, we don't want a twofer." And I said, "What?" She said, "A twofer. We're not hiring you and your wife." And I said, "Good, because you're not getting a twofer." Tess is her own person. She has her own passions, her own talents, her own interests, her own group of friends, her own things that she does. So when you see her through the week at the grocery store or here on Sunday morning, please don't go to her and say, "Can you give a message to Dan for me? Here, can you see that Dan gets this note?" Or "Tell Dan this," or, "I really don't like Dan's hair today." Please don't do that to her. She is her own person. If you want to talk to Tess, talk to her about her. Don't talk to her about me, please. Let her be her. She is here to worship like the rest of you are. Fortunately, she chooses to come here and listen to me and be a part of this because she could go other places, right? But I don't know, there's something she likes about it, I guess. I don't know. Many of you serve on committees. Some of you chair some of those committees. I ask that you let me know when your committees are meeting. Add me to your email list for that committee. Not that I'll be able to come all the time, but I'll come when I can. And again, it's not to take charge or to tell you how to do things. I like to know what's going on because people always ask me what's going on. And so it's helpful if I get to sit in on your committee meetings and know what's happening and just learn about your passions, your direction, and the things that you're doing. So if you chair a committee, please include me in your emails and let me know when you're meeting. Friday is my day off. I do get time off every week. And Friday to Tess and I are sacred because it's her day off as well. It's the only day each week that we get to spend time together. And so I keep that sacred. And what that means is I'm not going to answer your phone calls. I'm not going to respond to your text messages or your emails. I'm not going to attend activities that are here, as awesome and wonderful and amazing as they might be, because I need some time away. I need that to recharge, to recoup, to work on my relationship with Tess, to have some fun, to explore the area. And so please help me keep my Fridays sacred by respecting that request. Next, I will never intentionally upset you or offend you, but I will no doubt upset you or offend you at some point in time. Please don't take that personally. I'm not doing it because I mean to. Do you have any idea how many words I speak every single week? A lot of words. And so I'm going to misspeak sometimes. I ask for your grace when I do. I ask that you point that out so that I may learn. When I say something unintentionally that upsets you, please let me know so that I can work on correcting that. And we can learn how to communicate better together. I love ideas. I have lots of ideas. I have a master's degree in creativity. And so I come up with ideas. I love talking about ideas. And once in a while, I have a good idea too. They're not all good, but I'm not afraid to try something new. I'm not afraid of failing. And I want to hear your ideas. I want to brainstorm ideas and think about how we can do things that are even more amazing than they've been here before. Next. Sundays are a terrible time to come up to me with your ideas, with your requests, with your notes, because there's a million things going on every Sunday morning. If you have something that you want to communicate with me, I ask that you please email me about it or send me a text message or make an appointment so that we can sit down and you can have my full attention. Because today, before the service and after the service, there are 100 people who are going to want to say something to me. And if 100 people say, can you remember to do this, or can you remember to go here, or I really need you to do this, I'm not going to remember any of that. So please write it down. It doesn't mean you can't tell me about it. Tell me about it and write it down and send me an email or a text message or a note or something. That will help us all a lot to get along together. In case you haven't noticed, I'm a big guy with a big personality. I'm charismatic. I'm boisterous. I am demonstrative. I use my arms to accentuate things that I say. For some people that can be intimidating, and you assume that I'm difficult to approach, but I really don't want to be. If you have anything that you want to share with me, please take a risk on your part and come say hi and introduce yourself and say, can we get together? If you have a critique or a concern that you want to share, please do that. I am a good listener. I am aware that my personality to some people is off-putting, to others is intimidating. And I want to work on that, and so you can help me be aware by helping me by coming to chat with me about things like that. We need to have personal boundaries, though. I am your minister. I'm not going to be your buddy. That doesn't mean that we can't have fun together. That doesn't mean that in groups we can't do social things, but don't invite me one-on-one to go have a beer with you or to go to a ball game, because that's not appropriate for my role. Partly because it creates a conflict of interest, partly because it creates an illusion of favoritism. I don't want to favor any of you. In fact, I'm not sure I want to favor any of you at all. I want to favor all of you equally because you're all equally amazing. But if I get to the point where I'm hanging out with one person a whole lot more than I am with anybody else, then some of you will say, that's not right. Why is Dan doing that? So I'm not going to be buddies with any of you, but Tess and I would love it if you would invite us to come to your house or go out to dinner. If there are 6 or 7 or 8 or other people there, that we can all get to know each other. So we have to be very careful about that, those one-on-one activities and opportunities. I love pastoral care. It is one of the most important and one of my favorite aspects of what I do. Pastoral care is all about me coming to you whenever you have a concern or a question or you're in a time of need, health or emotional or whatever it might be. So please don't hesitate to reach out and say, Dan, I'm going to the hospital tomorrow for surgery. I just want you to know. Or can you come sit with my family? Or could you come and share a thought or a meditation or a prayer with me before I go in? I love doing that kind of stuff. It's not imposing on me. That's part of my job. You're not imposing when you do that. It's my expectation to be involved with you in that way. And as I've mentioned a couple different times, we are going to disagree on some things, and that's all right. There's a very popular saying that as you use, we like to embrace, but actually originated with John Wesley. And it goes, we need not think alike to love alike. We need not think alike to love alike. As you use, we're supposed to like to argue and disagree with each other and push each other and challenge each other to think in new ways, to think outside of what you're used to. This is what helps us grow in every aspect of our life. We have to learn to do that in a way that is friendly and appropriate and honoring who we are as individuals and who the rest of you are as individuals. We need not think alike to love alike. I ask that you take that to heart and that you engage in meaningful conversation, whether that's one-on-one or at the discussions before the services or in committee meetings. Don't be afraid to disagree, but let's work on disagreeing in such a way that we can still shake hands and share a hug and have a meal together as a beloved community. As I've mentioned several times, we are in this together. This is a shared ministry. We are here to learn, to grow, to enjoy this beloved community, and to make a difference in many, many social justice causes and issues. I want to be a part of that. I want to encourage that. I want to unleash all of you to do the things that you're passionate about. I want to take some time now to do something that I'm rarely ever going to do, and I know that it kind of used to be a thing, but I'd love a chance to have some feedback. I know that many of you have questions. You haven't had a chance to sit down with me in an interview or one-on-one. You might want to know something more about my background, my philosophy, or my theology, or about my thoughts on this or that or the other thing. So I want to give us take about 5 minutes or so to give you an opportunity to ask questions of me. Don't make comments. This is not time for you to pontificate on anything. Pontificate on your own time. This is about you asking questions of me, something that you're really curious about that you think others might like to know as well. Anybody have a question like that you want to share? I see a hand.
What do you like to do for fun?
What do I like to do for fun? That's a great question. I started a hobby of photography when I was 15, and I love photography. If you come into my office, you'll see some pictures there. It's meditative for me, and it helps me see the universe in a different way. I'm also a big fan of music, listening to music and playing music. When I was doing my doctorate, I taught myself to play acoustic guitar, so I love doing that. Several years ago, my kids got me a drum set, so I taught myself how to play drums and do percussion. I'm learning how to play harmonica, which is pretty cool. Have you ever seen an uncool harmonica player? They don't exist. No, every harmonica player I've ever known or heard is like the coolest person ever. So I love to do that. Tess and I love to travel and try out new places and new restaurants or pubs that have live music or go to shows or something like that. So those things are really important to me for doing fun. That's a great question. Somebody else? Yeah.
As to your sacred Good Friday ritual, I assume that an emergency is an exception.
Emergencies are always an exception, but I get to decide what an emergency is. An emergency is not, my dog is going to the dentist and I'm afraid that he's going to have 2 teeth pulled. I know you love your dog. I'm not downplaying dogs at all. But I'm sorry, that's not an emergency that's going to make me cancel my plans with Tess to go to Orlando for the day. An emergency is a life and death situation. Somebody's had a car wreck and is in the ER, and it doesn't look good, and they need some pastoral presence. The family would appreciate a calming spirit. That's an emergency. An emergency is someone has had a long-time illness, and the doctor has said, they're not going to make it probably for the next 24 hours. I want to be there for that, to be with you, to be with the family. That's an emergency. So you can feel free to get a hold of me, to send me a text, and I can either respond and say, this is something that I'll address tomorrow. Mary Jane has my personal phone number, as does Dennis and Ginger and a couple of others. So they know how to get a hold of me if something really is an emergency. So yeah, Friday is my day off, but I will deal with emergencies. But I get to decide what's an emergency. Okay? Yes?
Can you tell us
what your vision of the congregation is in 3 or 5 years' time. You know, what would you like to see? What do you plan to see?
That is a fantastic question.
Would you repeat it? I can't
Yeah,
hear.
oh, yeah. Yes, I'll certainly do that. The question is, what is my vision for the congregation in 3 to 5 years' time? The first thing is, I've only been here a couple of weeks, and I have a lot to learn about us as a community before I start telling you where to go and what to do. But I can tell you my observation about Charlotte County in general in just a couple of sentences. I've heard from a lot of people, this is such a conservative area. You know, it's hard to find progressive or liberals to talk about social justice issues or politics, and this is a safe haven for us to come. If you look at the voting totals over the past couple of elections, there are thousands of people in Charlotte County who are progressive and liberal thinkers. Why aren't there thousands of people here? Why don't they know about us? Why aren't they participating with us in our social justice issues and other things? I'm afraid that some of us have become so used to that trope that says it's too conservative of an area. We can't do what people do in Boston or in larger cities. Okay, I should have pointed this out. Sometimes I'll use profanity, and I apologize if profanity upsets you, but that's BS. That's an excuse for not making ourselves known. I think we have a lot of work to do here in marketing and public relations. And that's one of the things that I plan to spend a lot of time on over the next year or so. I think there's a bunch of people here that we could join arms with and make a real impact in this community, whether they ever come to our doors or not. But we have a lot of folks here in this community who are progressive liberal thinkers that we can find partnership with. Yeah, we'll go back here when I come up here. Yeah.
Hi, my name is Joseph. I have conversations before the service begins with many of the people here, and one thing that I'm really impressed with is how smart and creative the people in this fellowship are. They are brilliant, they have amazing experiences, and I would love that this energy and this intellect to be harnessed to make a community here. What experience have you had with collectively measuring and getting information from people to shape mission and vision and purpose?
Yeah, excellent question, Joe. It's something that I've had conversations with Dennis and the board about, and it's one of the key tasks that we have over the next several months. To create a mission, a vision, value statement, and key goals, it's going to take a core group of people who begin that conversation and then come to you as a congregation and say, tell us your thoughts. What are the most important key words or phrases or values that we have? And then we'll craft, wordsmith a mission statement and a vision statement around that, and we'll bring that back to the congregation and say, give us some feedback on this. And then at some point as a congregation, we'll have a chance to affirm the work that that group has done. To say, this is who we are, this is why we exist, this is our big meta goal for existing, and here are 3 or 4 or 5 major goals we have for the next few years and how we hope to accomplish those. That will take the work. That's not a task for 100 people. 100 people can share their ideas in small groups or brainstorming sessions, but it's a task of a few people to then call that into something that's usable and something that will be helpful for us as a congregation. That is a key task for us for sure. And one more here.
In what ways will you get involved with other religious leaders and community people related to social justice?
Yeah. Thank you for that. The question is, in what ways do I plan to get involved with other religious leaders in the area? Interfaith work is really important to me. I came from West Palm Beach, where I was involved in a couple of different interfaith networks. If other clergy are willing to have dialogue with me, I want to be there, whether that's in ministers' meetings or community activities. And if nothing like that exists, I'm going to create it. I would love for us to host, say, interfaith dialogue activities where we might have leaders from 3 or 4 or 5 other types of congregations, other faiths here, where we could have a panel discussion about current events or core issues. Obviously, over the next 13 months, we're going to be preparing for the big election of 2020 that ought to be motivating us to do a lot of important work. And I would love for us to be a center to host those kinds of conversations, to work with people from all different types of faith backgrounds. Now, honestly, there's a lot of faiths, there's a lot of churches, there's a lot of congregations, a lot of pastors who won't talk to me, who won't talk to us, because we're not Christian enough, we're not whatever enough, we're apostates, we're heretics. You know, all that stuff is true, and that's part of what makes us who we are. Can I get an amen? But there are lots of opportunities, and I plan on looking for those, and where they don't exist, creating those opportunities. If you have other questions for me, I would love to hear those and to have more dialogue. So what I'll do is, after the service, I'm going to hang out here, and I invite you to come back and we can continue this conversation, grab a drink and a snack and come back in here. I'll hang around as long as you want me to and answer questions and have a chat. And it's important for me to get to know you and for you to get to know me as we begin this shared ministry together. So thank you for listening to this super disjointed presentation of lots and lots of different ideas. I hope you can tell I'm a little excited about being here. Does that show at all? Seriously, Tess and I went back over to West Palm Beach Friday because we had some appointments. 5 minutes after pulling into that area, we both were having trauma responses to the traffic and the attitudes and the privilege, and oh my gosh. This is such a breath of fresh air, and there's so much amazing work to do with so many amazing people. I am blessed beyond any words I can say. I can't say thank you enough for giving me this opportunity, and I just so look forward to working side by side with you on so many different opportunities. So thank you so much.
Thank you.